The Importance of Pair Programming by Uncle Bob. Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer. Tech support said I called them. They said they're coming out. They told me they're going to close that thing on Tuesday. So I'm reacting to the importance of pair programming. I'm a fan of pair programming, but not how people have promoted it. Oh my god! Because back in the day, it was there wasn't more. There's more people than computers around. Like especially when I was going to school or going to these computer camps or hanging out at Radio Shack, you get to share them, and you'd be next to each other. Sometimes there'd be three people, and they would be watching you do stuff. At least watching me because I'm like knew how to do a lot of stuff because I've been messing with this stuff for a long time. I write computer records. Like people would ask me stuff. They'd ask to do stuff. I'd show them how to do stuff. It was like that with pair programming was how it's at. Now, there was also long periods of time when I would just be doing stuff by myself, actually, most of the time. And so when I heard about this pair practice, I thought it was like that. It's like, okay, when you need to show people stuff or get together, whatever, you get together and do it. And then there's times when you don't. And then I heard people's like, no, 7 hours a day straight. It's like, dude, you're kind of missing the point. Like you want to like share stuff and not and also then have times when you're not sharing, when you're go do deeper stuff, and then you come back and you share what you've been working on as people talking to each other because there's no GitHub or anything like that. It was like get in person. And then one of the companies I worked at, one of these tech companies, one of the teams I worked on it was a great idea where they would have set blocks of time because it was all remote where people would share their screens without having to have a meeting or any talk about it. It would just be show you what you're working on and type, and then people might be talking about stuff. You can mute that or not, and people would ask you like what you're doing and what you're like working on, and they might in the Slack or whatever, and you would just like share your stuff, and it was just a great way. And it was only like a couple. It was totally voluntary, but everyone did it to just show your screen about what you're working on, and a lot of information that got shared that way that a lot of these other remote companies I've worked at had it just missed out on. You'd have to come into the office, and even then it was just you have to get into this rhythm and vibe of it to really do it justice. But that was the closest I'd seen it do for online is when this a couple hours a day screen sharing thing that was separate than the stand up, separate from everything else. The stand up was also two phased, which was really great, and where you would just do your quick thing, and then if you want to go deeper in the weeds, you go to phase two, and you could voluntarily leave or not. So it would actually be really super fast, like the stand up was supposed to. Like original, I've heard of the original stand up was supposed to be, which I don't even know if that would seem correct. But you just want to do a quick update, and then if something's wrong or something needs to help or whatever, you can then get into the weeds. And we're not talking about all your dogs and things like that. No, if you want to talk about dogs and vacations and stuff, you can come into the weeds and we can discuss all that stuff. But most people just want to get in and out of the thing, and then do the screen share thing. Okay, let's see what Uncle Bob says about pair programming.
This is the reason that we want to see people pairing. We want people pairing so that we know they can cover for each other.
I mean, is that the only reason? Is for cover? Because to cover each other? All right, Bob. Let's keep going.
It's your responsibility to make sure that someone can cover for you, so you will invite people to pair with you so that they can learn what your source files look like and where you keep them, what your make scripts are, and how
that's onboarding. You're talking about onboarding? I mean, okay.
You deal with Git and all that stuff, so that if you go down, somebody can step in and say, yeah, okay, I can take over. Has anybody worked in a team where Bob...
Well, there's ones where there's onboarding, right? And then there's this just working out what's going on. And you might be new to a team. Now, if everyone on the team has gotten adjusted to that, the screen sharing thing, if you're doing remote, right? Then it becomes the customer. It's like, what tool is that? What is that on your screen? What's that icon on your menu bar? What's that IDE? What is this thing? And then you can it becomes normalized that you can look at other people's screens while they're working and don't necessarily have to talk about it. Or you might be looking at other people's stuff. It was super cool. There's so much high density, casual, flow of information that was very similar to how in the past when we didn't have all these tools, you'd actually have to co-locate physically in the same environment with other people doing it, and just watching each other write the stuff, ask questions, and looking at. I mean, it was very interactive, and you'll just be joking around about stuff, goofing off a little bit, It was just super fun, very social, and there'd be times when you just maybe go 2 days with 3 days without seeing the screen at all. Then all of a sudden you say, "Come here, I want to show you something," and then you're back in it again. It's like, I don't know, it's not that big of a mystery.
Bob was the database guy, and Bob went down, and nothing happened on the database for a month. We're a bunch of programmers. We know how to do this stuff. We just need to cover for each other. We need to behave like a team. Teams cover for each other.
Okay, I mean, sometimes that's possible. Sometimes the knowledge is not transferable, and sometimes that's just how it is. So Bob, you gotta be a little. Maybe just talk about web CRUD apps or something. This is not like generalized programming. I don't know. Let's keep going.
I expect that. I expect that if I've got a team of 15 people and I decide I need to divide that team in half and take 7 people that way and 8 people that way, the 8 people remaining will still be able to operate because they know enough about the whole system to continue behaving like a team.
All right, but so how do we do that? How do you set systems up to do that? Is that where we have to take your course, your revolutionary training exercise, your developer team overhaul? Is that what we learned there? Because I haven't heard him mention everybody ever mentioned it. It just says this what should be. We should be able to do this, and this is how it should be. It's like, okay, well, how would you manage? How do you get people to do that? How do you people like? Is that part of the points on the ticket? Is that how do you convey that? I know it's like it needs to happen and happen now. It's like, okay, I get that we need to do these things, but any methodologies? No, just don't need to do it. All right, let's keep going.
That means they're going to have to share an awful lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Probably by pairing. So let's talk about.
I mean, preparing is a pretty efficient way of doing it, but also documentation or doing videos or like lots of lines and charts and diagrams that can be easily accessed in one unified code base. Doesn't spread over 30, 50 Confluence documents all over the damn place. Just one spot in the repo someplace. It could be updated and tracked like everything else. Let's keep going.
About this pairing thing for a bit. People get very scared of pair programming because they think they don't want to sit next to some guy forever.
True. That is actually true.
Yeah, that'd be awful. I don't.
Yeah, because this is a thing that's been told to people. No, you have to sit there at 8 hours a day, 16 days a week. It's like, no, man. It's just when it becomes necessary to do it, and then other times not, and then have this casual screen share thing where that would simulate how it kind of was back in when people didn't have all these remote work. You had to be in the same office. You'd be looking at people's screens. Like there was no hiding stuff. Everyone was working on stuff. It's like, come on, man.
I want you to pair 100% of the time. I don't want you to pair 50% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't make that wasn't never made clear when this pair programming is a revolutionary extreme programming. Like it wasn't talked about then. It was just promoted this thing as opposed to a tool in a toolbox. It was like, this is the way to do it. It's like, again, the certification driven, conference driven, book driven, training driven, certified trainer driven stuff is, they always overhype it.
I want you to pair enough so that you can cover for each other, and that you.
How do you do that? Is that part of the ticket? Are we putting the points? Is that putting points on the tickets for that, Bob? For your agile turnover process?
You can review each other's code. How long should you pair? An hour.
Okay. Well, what happens when you do it 2 hours or 5 hours? What happens when we're working through a thing? What happens when we're doing a big debug session? I don't know this, and he doesn't know half of the thing I know that I know half of. So this is the kind of stuff that annoys me about the Uncle Bob. Is like he's very flippant with his prognosis. His descriptions are decent, but his like prescriptions about what to do are a little flippant. Most senior devs would not give that answer. They would say it depends. Just like I said. Just be open to doing it. I mean, but it's kind of a thing. Most people are open to do it, yeah, but it's just this pushing of it that really just put bad taste in people's mouths. You gotta do 16 hours a day. stuck to the hip. It's like, no, no, man.
50, half an hour, something like that. Pair.
Well, okay, what does that? What even mean? Maybe before you take a break? Whereas we need to keep going. Oh no, the hour's done. Uncle Bob said we can only do an hour of this, so come back tomorrow. I mean, maybe that is. Maybe it's just really stressful. Like, oh my god, we found this library. Is taken over by hackers, and we have to completely find a new thing or change our business model. It could be like that. It's like crushing blow. It's like this is gonna take more than an hour, man.
For a few times a week. Pair for an hour, hour and a half, something like that. Maybe a couple of times a week.
Okay, it depends on what you're doing. Why? I mean, why do we have to have this schedule thing? Why does it have to be like a factory schedule thing? Why does it all have to be that? It's like when we need to, we will. When we don't need to, we'll step away until we need to again. And if we don't have the space to do that, maybe this is the wrong business to be in.
Just enough so that you have enough knowledge to cover for each other, and that.
How do you know that, man? How do you know that? I know that's what you think. It's like this general thing, but that's so vague and like, what is the word? It's just overgeneralized. It's like so overgeneralized, it's like not useful.
You're reviewing each other's code. I also think you ought to pair with lots of multiple people. So people should pair on the.
Yeah. Everybody on the team, we should be talking to each other when we need to. What are you talking about, man? Oh man, this is just like you're not giving us the helpful thing. You're not giving us the helpful insights. You're describing what people have done and what you've seen, but you're not describing the thought process that drives the decisions. That's what we need from you, Bob. We don't need what's the way to do it. Like, this is the way to think about the way to do it. Not the way to do it. We don't want to know the way to do it. We want to think about what gave you this decision matrix about the way you say we should do it. We want to get where you have. We want to go through that Kachinko machine and get our result, not your result.
The work that you're doing, and you should pair on the work that other people are doing on a relatively regular basis.
God damn, he's such a pump. I will pontificate. He's like such a Captain Kirk. I'm gonna get those guys.
And this should all be very informal. I don't want some manager putting a big chart on the wall saying today.
Yeah, but you gave him those numbers. Why even throw out numbers at all? I should just be an half an hour. It's an hour. It's like, no, man. Why even give numbers at all? Because now they're going to turn those into KPI matrix because Uncle Bob said so. At the conference, we spent $2,000 a head for, and it was expensive to fly those boys out. We lost a week of development time.
Hey, Bob will pair with Bill. That's a stupid thing to do. Just everybody ought to be able to, from time to time, say, you know what? I'd like to work with you for a half an hour, and we can kind of learn what each other are doing.
And that was my screen sharing. That was a screen sharing idea by these guys. I didn't come up with that. Those guys came up with that.
That's a wise thing for a team to do.
Agreed. Okay, I agree with you, Uncle Bob.
And if you did that, you could probably eliminate most of the code reviews you do.
That's a big claim there, Uncle Bob. Do you have any stats to back that up? Do you have any studies? After a good 10 years on the conference circuit, you should know some people that can run some studies, like all these businesses and stuff. You'd think you'd have some studies with all that stuff. You'd think that he would have all kinds of stats and the double blind studies and just, oh man, this is the way it works. TDD, XYZ. But he doesn't have it. Why? I just want to know why, Bob. I also want to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you later.